And it looked like WNBA referees is being exposed for cheating.
The WNBA referees just got caught red-handed showing favorites. And you won't believe who's getting the royal treatment. Fresh footage from the Dallas Wings versus New York Liberty game has fans asking some serious questions about why certain players get calls while others get ignored.
Performance tonight going up against the WNBA champions New York Liberty, and I'm here to tell you this game definitely came with some drama, that being the WNBA referees. Now I know y'all wondering, John, what does this have to do with Caitlin? This has a lot to do with Caitlin, bruh. Now we know Caitlin Clark has not been a fan or a person that has been getting a fair whistle in the WNBA. There has been countless of plays, countless of actions and situations that has went down.
The evidence is right there, and it's making people furious. What do you think? Are WNBA refs playing favorites with certain players? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Kathy, and arguably part of the reason why Caitlin Clark is hurt is because of the WNBA referees. Now, I'm not saying that they're fully to blame, but they should be held accountable for Caitlin Clark being hurt as of right now.
So, here we are again, talking about WNBA referees and their questionable decision-making. But this time, we got some serious evidence that's got fans scratching their heads and asking uncomfortable questions. The Dallas Wings rolled into New York and put on a show against the Liberty, winning 92-82. And let me tell you, they look way better than anyone expected. Aaron Bowe dropped 20 points with 14 assists, a straight-up masterclass performance. But the real story here isn't just about the scoreboard. Paige Buers, who's still finding her footing in the league, had herself a solid night with 20 points, 4 assists, and 6 rebounds in 30 minutes of action. Good for her, right? But here's where things get interesting. And by interesting, I mean absolutely ridiculous.
I think if every single player in the league had the whistle pages, you would see more freedom of movement for guards. You would see less hand checking. It is just the hypocrisy of the referees.
There's this play that happened during the game that has people losing their minds. And honestly, after watching it, I can see why. The footage shows Paige get what looks like a pretty favorable call from the referees. Now, normally, that wouldn't be a huge deal. Players get calls. It happens. But when you compare to how other players, specifically Caitlin Clark, get treated by these same referees, well, that's when things start looking real suspicious that a fan named Million X, who follows the Liberty, posted something that really hit the nail on the head. She basically asked how the exact same type of contact that Paige got called for her was somehow not a foul when it happened to Caitlin. And you know what? That's a damn good question that deserves an answer. The play in question shows Paige getting grabbed on the arm, and the whistle blows immediately. Fair enough. That's a foul. But when you look at similar situations involving Caitlin Clark, those same referees seem to suddenly develop selective blindness. It's like they're watching two completely different games depending on who's getting hit. This whole situation becomes even more frustrating when you think about what Caitlin has brought to this league. She's the one packing arenas. She's the reason people who never cared about women's basketball are now buying season tickets. The viewership numbers don't lie. When Caitlin plays, people watch. When she doesn't, well, let's just say the ratings tell a different story.
So, Caitlin Clark gets dragged by Natasha Cloud. Then she catches the ball. Natasha Cloud grabs her. Natasha Cloud then has her right hand on her right arm, then hits her left hand. So right and left arm. Hits her left hand with her left arm. And then as Caitlin Clark is pulling up for the shot, she uses one hand to get the ball and the other hand's on the hip.
You'd think the league would want to protect their biggest draw, right? You'd think the referees would make sure the person bringing in all the money and attention gets treated fairly. But apparently, that's asking too much from WNBA officiating. What makes this even more ridiculous is that this isn't happening in some random pickup game at the local gym. We're talking about professional basketball with millions of people watching. These referees are getting paid to make consistent calls. And yet, here we are, watching them apply completely different standards to different players. The inconsistency is so obvious that even casual fans are starting to notice. You don't need to be a basketball expert to see that something's wrong when the same action gets called differently depending on who's involved. It's becoming a joke, and not the funny kind. And let's talk about the impact this has on the game itself. When referees are inconsistent, It changes how players approach every possession. Some players know they can get away with more physical play, while others have to be extra careful about any contact they make. That's not basketball. That's whatever weird version of the sport these referees have decided to create. Stephanie White, who coaches Caitlin on the Indiana Fever, has been pretty diplomatic about this whole mess. But even she can't hide the obvious. When asked about the physicality that Caitlin faces, she basically admitted that there's a different level of contact that players are allowed to get away with when they're going after her. White said there's a level of physicality that they're able to play with against Caitlin that she knew about as an opponent and now sees as her coach. She didn't want to get fined for speaking too honestly, but the message was clear. Caitlin gets treated differently, and not in a good way. Think about how crazy that is for a second. The coach has to be careful about pointing out obvious bias because she might get fined for it. Meanwhile, her star player is getting hammered every game while referees act like they're watching paint dry. And it's not just one or two isolated incidents. We're talking about a pattern here. Game after game, Caitlin gets grabbed, held, and hit while trying to play basketball. And these referees act like they're suddenly interested in cloud formations instead of what's happening right in front of them. The contrast with how Paige gets treated is pretty stark. Now, I'm not saying Paige doesn't deserve fair officiating. Every player does. But when you see the same action getting called completely differently depending on who's involved, it raises some serious questions about what's really going on. Some fans are pointing out that this isn't just about getting a few more calls. It's about the massive gap in how these two players are officiated. The timing of all this is pretty interesting, too. We're in Caitlin's second year as a professional. She's not some rookie who needs to earn her stripes anymore. She's proven herself, brought unprecedented attention to the league, and helped raise the profile of women's basketball in ways that seemed impossible just a few years ago. But apparently, none of that matters when it comes to getting fair treatment from the referees. It's like they decided that making Caitlin work twice as hard for everything is somehow good for the game. Spoiler alert, it's not. The business side of this makes even less sense. The WNBA finally has a player who can drive television ratings and sell tickets, and their response is to let referees treat her like garbage. That's not just bad officiating, that's bad business. Think about it from a purely financial perspective. Caitlin Clark games consistently draw higher ratings and bigger crowds in games without her. She's literally putting money in everyone's pockets. Players, coaches, referees, league executives, arena workers, everyone. And the league's response is to let her get beat up without consequences. It's like having a golden goose and deciding to see how many times you can kick it before it stops laying eggs. Eventually, fans are going to get tired of watching their favorite player get targeted. And when they stop watching, everyone loses. The whole situation becomes even more frustrating when you realize that Caitlin's treatment by referees might have contributed to her getting hurt. When players know they can get away with extra contact against someone, they're going to keep pushing that boundary. And when referees refuse to call obvious fouls, players get more aggressive. It's not rocket science. If you let people get away with rougher play against one specific player, that player is going to take more punishment than everyone else. And eventually, that extra punishment adds up to injuries that could have been prevented with consistent officiating. But here's what really gets me about this whole mess. The WNBA should be doing everything possible to protect and promote their biggest stars. That's just basic business sense. You don't take your most valuable asset and let people beat them up without consequences. Yet, that's exactly what's happening. The league's biggest draw is getting treated like she's some scrub who should be grateful just to be on the court. Meanwhile, other players are getting the kind of protection that Caitlin should be getting as the face of the league. The fan reaction to all this has been pretty telling. People are noticing the double standard, and they're not happy about it. Social media is full of side-by-side comparisons showing the same type of contact being called completely differently depending on who's involved. And you know what? Good. People should be calling this out. When officiating becomes this obviously biased, fans have every right to demand better. The integrity of the game depends on fair and consistent refereeing. And what we're seeing right now is neither fair nor consistent. Some people want to make this about things that have nothing to do with basketball, but honestly, that's missing the point. This is about professional referees doing their jobs properly. It's about treating all players with the same standard, regardless of who they are or what team they play for. The fact that we even need to have this conversation is pretty embarrassing for the WNBA. Here's a league that's finally getting the attention it's always deserved, largely thanks to one player, and the referees are making it harder for that player to do her job effectively. It's not just bad for Caitlin. It's bad for the entire league. When fans start questioning the integrity of the officiating, that hurts everyone. When the biggest star in the league is getting obviously different treatment, that's a problem that goes way beyond one player or one team. The WNBA has worked too hard and come too far to let questionable officiating undermine everything they built. These referees need to figure out how to call games consistently, or the league needs to find referees who can. Because at the end of the day, fans want to watch basketball, not referee incompetence. They want to see the best players in the world compete on a level playing field, not watch some players get special treatment, while others get targeted. The evidence is right there for everyone to see. The same contact that gets called for some players gets ignored when it happens to others. That's not acceptable at any level of professional sports. And it's especially not acceptable in a league that's trying to build credibility and grow its fan base. WNBA referees need to do better. The league needs to hold them accountable. And fans need to keep calling out this obvious bias until something changes. Because what we're seeing right now isn't just unfair. It's damaging to the sport itself. This referee situation is getting out of hand, and it's time for the WNBA to step up and fix it. What do you think needs to happen to make officiating more fair? Let me know in the comments. And if this video opened your eyes to what's really going on, smash that like button and subscribe for more content calling out the BS.